going to be a live onboard session. And so we're going to utilize this opportunity to memorialize this for other people going forward. So the first step is going to be, I'm going to download the folder onto your desktop. Take just a second here. Next step will be setting your preferences. Actually, the next step will be adding some data transfer information, a header, and an activity report template. Contacts, our voicemail is considered contact. So just like any other claim, you want to make sure that you're updating your information in exact analysis. So make sure you mark, the estimate contacted when you leave that first voicemail, or obviously you are able to establish that contact. Everything is on the carrier profile. Actually, go ahead and data transfer. Some people already have a Whirly header and rename it Whirly /scope. All right, didn't have to do it this time. All right. Go ahead and set your preferences now. Not very many preferences really need to be set here, mainly just defaults and openings. The purpose of this is that we will be transferring this information, but they're going to data transfer it once they get a copy of your estimate and then work off theirs. So this is more of a template on their end as much as anything for the photos that you'll be taking. And as we mentioned before, the primary focus will be photos and the online tick sheet, which we'll also review. So you've already gotten the claim, right? We sent that to you yesterday. It'd be this Wilmington, wouldn't it? So it's already got your name in there. Already got the contact in there. Great. The activity report template we loaded. You already used the contact attempt. Perfect. Make sure you follow up with again this morning when you get a chance. We want to continue, 24-hour contact attempts at least once a day, if not twice a day. If they do provide an email within Exact Analysis, you'll want to make sure that you attempt that as well if you're not able to reach them by phone. Always refer to Exact Analysis when you receive these claims, because the desk adjusters do put information in their notes. Some of them have been asking for contact prior to your inspection. There's one desk adjuster in particular that's asked as a rule for contact 24 hours prior to inspection. So I'm not sure if that is just a kind of a stock note, or if there's a reason for that. But I've noticed that on several of them. It's Andrea Chisholm is the one who's been requesting that. So until we determine whether that is just a stock note or not, just make sure that if you see any kind of notes like that as far as contact request, be sure to reach out to that desk adjuster as directed. One thing that they will provide on demand is a CAD report. In some cases, they will go ahead and provide it up front. We are not measuring roofs, whether they have damage or not, unless there is specific instruction in the directions to measure the roof. We are assuming that they are providing that CAD, either to themselves or to us. So our goal is to determine damages and document damages, not measure roofs. Okay. Now, as far as elevations on exterior, if we have elevation damage, we do need to document the dimensions of that elevation, but we can actually do that within the online tick sheet that we've provided. So we'll go to the packet here. There is instructions for interior and exterior. So if you have a claim that has interior damages and exterior damages, you may have to utilize both tick sheets because we have tick sheets for both interior and exterior. What I would recommend that you do is that you copy these links and paste it into an email it to yourself, and then open it up when you are on your phone, and then you can pull that link directly through your phone. We can utilize this through the desktop, but it is mainly for mobile. So there are two different interfaces, one for desktop, one for mobile. This has actually been designed to be primarily used for mobile, but I can show you a copy of what the finished report will look like. It starts with pretty basic questions, you know, the who, the claim number, who was present, cause of loss, origin of loss. We need to be very specific on our information for cause and origin. You know, obviously on a wind or a hail claim, pretty self-explanatory, but it's on the interior water losses that they really need our expertise. The whole point of sending out a licensed and experienced adjuster is that they can provide that expertise as to the origin of loss. Someone from Ladder Now may be able to take a lot of pictures, but will not necessarily have that experience of determining origin of loss. Good example is, you know, you've got water coming through your tile shower and your pan is leaking. Someone who doesn't have experience with that would not necessarily know how to determine that. So, you know, we need to be providing that. The details that are provided here are pretty self-explanatory. If you've ever worked with Settle Assist, this is a very similar to that program as far as the way it cascades. You answer a question, yes, you'll get other questions related to that question. You answer no, we'll move on to the next subject. Want to take the time to look through this when you get a chance, but it's pretty self-explanatory. What I would recommend is when you have some time to play with it, go ahead and send it to yourself on your mobile and play with it through the mobile. That's where you're going to be accessing it primarily. But pretty self-explanatory, like I said, as far as questions, you know, they follow in line pretty well. So our workflow here, I'm going to review this with you, kind of go in detail here. You know, like any other assignment, you're going to receive an email notification. You're going to connect to Exact Analysis. You're going to receive that field assignment through XA and download it to your desktop and accept the assignment like we would any other claim. You want to contact the insured, use your activity notes template that we provided. You know, continue your contact attempts until you can establish that contact and set your appointment. Our goal is to have these inspected in 2 days of assignment and uploaded same day, in theory, on site. The way this program works with these smaller losses, you should be able to get in and out less than an hour. That includes labeling your photos. Once you've uploaded that online tick form, you're done with it. I'm the one who is going to follow up and email this information to the desk adjuster. When you mark the estimate complete, you're done with it. So the idea is that, while on site, you do all of that while you're there, you send it up, you move on to the next claim, you're done with this. Okay. Now, when you contact the insured the first time, as normal, you want to explain your role, that you are there only to inspect the loss and provide that information to the desk adjuster. The desk adjuster will follow up and review everything and explain the next steps. So it's okay to let them know they're writing the estimate, they're making the coverage determinations. You're just gathering that information so that they can do that. There is no settling on site at all. You'll want to, during that initial call as normal, you'll want to confirm your address and briefly discuss scope of loss. Confirm that this is appropriate for the program. If it turns out during that discussion you determine that this damage is well beyond a minimal claim as is designed for this program, reach out to me immediately. We'll discuss it. We'll see if it is appropriate to stay within this program or if it needs to be moved on to a full assignment, a full inspection assignment, okay? When you inspect the property, you want to, this pertains to exterior. You want to make sure you're inspecting the roof and elevations on all structures on the property. This includes fencing and pool accessories. At the very least, we must have good overviews of these areas and these items. Obviously, if there is damages, whether claim related or not, we want to make sure we're getting good close-ups of those damages. And we do want to provide that explanation within the photo descriptions as to whether it's consistent with this loss or not. That once again is the expertise that the desk adjuster is looking for. Now, once again, we're going to assume that the CAD report has been provided or is available to the desk adjuster. We'll measure roofs if given specific request by the desk adjuster. So once again, be sure to look into exact analysis and make sure that there's no specific instructions. Okay. We do want to measure and dimension elevations with damage only. We are not measuring non-damaged elevations. We want good photo overviews of all elevations, roof, fencing, pool accessories, and detailed photos showing damages to affected areas, as we mentioned before, documenting origin and cause of loss. If the fencing is damaged, we want to provide measurements of the length of damage as well as the measurement of the full affected run. Okay, that's very important. If we are going to be considering painting or staining to that fence, we may need to get measurements of all runs if we're going to need to paint all runs. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're taking those photos and getting that information. You want to complete that tick sheet via your mobile phone, confirming material identification. It does dive down into specifics as to materials. Once again, the desk adjuster is not going to have that information unless you provide it to them. Don't assume that they'll look at a picture and know it's a vinyl fence. You want to make sure that you document any additional damages pointed out by the insured, noting specifically whether they're consistent with the loss or not. So we want to address anything that they bring up, but we do want to let the desk adjuster know that in our opinion, it may or may not be related to the loss. Give them those details so they can make that coverage determination. If ITEL is required, they do want us to pull ITEL on siding and flooring. Now, if we determine that the siding is available or it's average grade and average grade, then we don't need to take a sample. We do want to note in our tick form that the siding is average grade and appears to be a readily available product. If we believe that is not the case, we want to pull a sample and we want to make sure that we include the desk adjuster's information so that that information is forwarded on to them so they can continue with it. They are allowing us to use the ITEL mobile app. You have the mobile app and the mobile kit. You can utilize that without having to take a physical sample if it's appropriate. While you're on site, you're going to prepare your photo descriptions. You're going to complete your inspection tick sheet via the mobile phone. You're going to sketch the roof if needed and dimension applicable elevations. Now, they're not asking us to provide those dimensions within an estimate. We can include those dimensions within the notes of our tick sheet. Okay. While on site and you've done all that, you're going to then upload a completed estimate package to Exact Analysis. I forward the tick sheet and a completed ESX file to the desk adjuster, and that will complete the file. So truly, once you're done and you send everything up, I take it from there, or our management team will take it from there. And as I mentioned before, if you need to pull a sample, go ahead and pull a sample for ITEL and include the desk adjuster's information. Photo details. We want to make sure we get the address of the loss. We want to get a good risk photo showing an overview of the front of the building. And we want to get good elevation photos for total overview showing all 4 elevations at each corner. As far as the roof, pretty standard pictures, overview, number of layers, installation of drip edge, eave and rake. Note if it's painted, shingle gauge if comp or metal roofing. We want to note the type of ridge cap. You know, is it a high profile ridge or a standard ridge cap? If there's obviously ridge vent, we want to make sure we're noting that as well. Any roof accessories with damage, we want to have close-ups as applicable. Any secondary roofing material, we want to identify that material and any applicable damages. We do have options within that tick sheet for flat roofing or metal roofing. So you've got a lot of different materials that can be involved in those setups. So you want to make sure you're being specific as to what's there, not only with your photos, but with your descriptions within the tick sheet. Per slope, we want to get a good overview, close-up of damages, and a count of wind damaged shingles or hail damaged shingles. On the elevations, we want to get good overview of the elevations, and per elevation with damage, the overview of damage, close-up of damage, note house wrap if applicable, and then make sure you're documenting the type of siding, trim, windows, doors, fascia, gutters, miscellaneous accessories to confirm type and grade. Other structures is just like the dwelling, same thing. You know, if damage, show the details. If no damage, at the very least, good overviews to confirm lack of damage. Fencing, overview of affected runs, close-up of damaged sections. And as I mentioned before, we may have to measure all runs if we're going to be painting all runs. Pool accessories, overviews and close-ups, deck overviews, close-ups. We want to note that if it is finished or not, and confirm if it's attached to the dwelling, if applicable. And sketch. The only thing they're asking us to sketch is the roof or the fence runs if damage is found. On interior, they are asking us to sketch interior rooms with damage or with affected flooring that runs continuous into those rooms. Go over the interior inspection workflow here. The first part here on the left is normal as far as the inspector workflow is it is the same as the exterior. As far as photo details, we want to get of each room that's affected or pointed out by the insured. We want to get 2 overviews of the opposite corners, capture the full room. We need to get an overview of ceiling, noting texture, trim, light fixtures, register covers, ceiling fans. We need an overview of flooring, noting type of flooring, the base trim, get a measurement on the size of the base trim, amount of furniture, make sure we're providing that information. Good overviews will show that. Overview of claim damages. We want to provide the orientation and related items involved in those repairs. And we want to make sure we're showing close-ups of those damages, not just the orientation and overviews, but close-ups to confirm the damage itself. And then overview of cause, overview of origin. Like we talked about before with the bathtub, if you've got water leaking in the living room and directly upstairs is a bathroom and directly above the stain is a shower drain, well, we can put 2 and 2 together there. But we need to make sure we're putting it together for the desk adjusters if they're not seeing it with their own eyes. We want to get overview and close-ups of non-claim related damages, just like we are on the exterior, to provide a thorough documentation of the property. In the kitchen, we want to make sure that we're confirming the type and grade and installation details of the cabinets. Make sure that if flooring is installed under the dishwasher or the refrigerator, we're noting that. We want to confirm appliance make and models, where applicable. In the bathrooms, same thing with the cabinetry. We need to make sure we're detailing the grade of the vanity. Pull out the cabinets, pull out the drawers. Pull out those drawers, show what type of drawer, show the hinges, show the knobs. So we're providing all that information. And then obviously on flooring, tile flooring, we want to confirm the size and age, noting where it's installed and whether it's affected by the repairs. So if we're going to get into that by doing other repairs, make sure we're noting that. And then, as I mentioned before, sketch interior rooms with claim-related damage. And this includes rooms with damages to flooring that is contiguous into rooms without damage. So be thorough in your photos and your sketch. So I'm going to briefly show you what an interior scope form looks like. The exterior is pretty self-explanatory. You have your roof, you have your elevations, you have different structures. Pretty consistent with what you're used to if you utilize Settle Assist. Now the interior is a little different in that you have interior rooms that are very specific as far as the components within them, and then you have standard rooms. So a specific room would be a kitchen, a bathroom, or a basement. In those rooms, you'll have specific items like cabinets, vanities, fixtures, things that you would not have in a living room or a hallway, okay? So those will always be the first 3 rooms that you'll run through. If there's no damage to the kitchen, we're gonna say no to the kitchen, and then it'll move to the bathroom. If there's damage to the bathroom, you say yes, and then it'll start asking you the questions related to that room. After you get through those specific rooms, then you'll get into the standard room. The standard room you're going to rename to what it is. So standard room 1 could be living room, standard room 2 could be your hallway. That's going to have a bit more basic components to it. Flooring, trim work, doors, windows, things like that we would find in any standard room. So we'll go over this real quick. You want to include your name, the insurance name, claim number, inspection date, those present at inspection, cause of loss, origin of loss. So let's say no damage to the kitchen. So see, it moves on to the next. Let's say you realize after you said that, oh, I pushed no, I meant to say yes. You can go back to the kitchen, it'll say yes. Then you start dealing with, the details within that room. Average age condition, average age of items, we'll say 7 years. Now, once again, this is the desktop version. With the mobile app, or with the mobile version of this, it will have a slightly different interface, and a lot of times you'll have a scrolling mechanism for the numbers to kind of type them all in individually. It's much more different. See the image, there's minor stain. So we got the drywall ceiling, it has texture. Say in that kitchen, it has 3 recess lights. The other light fixtures, we'll say there's one regular fixture. No ceiling fans in the kitchen, no crown mold in the kitchen, no insulation damage. We only have minor staining here. So what I've taken here is minor water stain to ceiling 6x5. So I provided that detail to the desk adjuster. Photos will obviously back that up. No damage to the wall, no damage to the floor. Here we go with the cabinets. In the cabinets, it's going to ask, which had damage. Say the upper and the lower had damage. You say it was average quality. Laminate veneer, painted. Drawer construction. Our photos are going to back this up. Hidden hinges. Kitchen cabinet notes. Anything specific we need to put there, we can put there. If there's something about the knobs, if they said, oh, these knobs were bought in Italy, okay, or something just off about the cabinets, you're going to have an opportunity to put notes in there. This is the place to do that. That kind of information you would know as you're writing the estimate, the desk adjuster needs to know. Let's see, attention, reset the countertop, granite countertop, any cutouts, maybe one cutout for the sink, no sink damage, no backsplash. Same thing with the countertop. This is Italian marble. Or they claim it is. Insured states this is Italian marble. We don't know that it is or isn't. We know that the insured's saying that it is. So be specific in those kinds of notes. No damage to the refrigerator. No damage to the dishwasher or disposal. So you can see, there may not be damage to garbage disposal, but if we're resetting the cabinet or the countertop, we may have to remove and reset the garbage disposal. So, it goes into that kind of detail. Remove and reset let's say you've got damage to the flooring. You have to remove and reset the stove and the dishwasher and the refrigerator. You have that option. So then we're done in the kitchen. Now it's going into the bathroom. Do you have any damage in the bathroom? No, we don't. But it's going to ask similar questions about grade of vanity, tile, what kind of shower surround, what type of vanity fixture. So it does go into those details. Same thing with the kitchen as far as light fixtures as well. Damage to a basement. We've got unique properties to a basement. Let's back that up. Let's see. Is there a pit? Yeah, there is a pit. And there is a pump. Was there perimeter drain? No. Any floor drains? No. Basement ceiling damage? Sure, we have some staining. Drywall. Texture, just like we were doing in those other rooms. No ceiling fans, no crown molding in the basement, no insulation damage, no notes to the ceilings, no wall damage, floor damage. Okay, so now we've got standard room. So let's say we've got another room with damage. We're going to say yes. And call it living room. Again, it's going to ask us about the age and condition of the room. Standard ceiling height, ceiling damage, wall damage, floor damage. Any other features? Other features, steps would be another feature. Fireplace could be another feature. The built-in cabinets. Any other kind of feature notes? You know, it could be that the cabinet is solid wood, or it's a laminate. You know, laminate 8 by 16. No other notes. So there are no other rooms, so we're going to say no to standard room damage 2. The other notes you want to add, anything else that you want to provide, any kind of notes, something that the insured said, something that you think just needs to be noted, you're going to have those opportunities at the end. Did water mitigation pull a flooring sample? No. There's no anti-tail sample taken. If the answer is yes, they're going to ask what rooms, and then you're done. When you see that completed screen, you can exit out of that screen. You are done with that report. If I see anything that's missing, I can actually I can alter it on my end if I need to. And obviously, if there's some opportunities for improvement, we'll discuss that on the back end. But pretty self-explanatory if you have ever worked Settle Assist before, very similar type program. Now, this information is stuff that actually came from Liberty. These are direct examples of the kind of photos they're looking for to address quality. You see good pictures of the hinges, good pictures of the material and construction of the cabinet drawers. You got a good overview of the kitchen that shows the full layout of the cabinets there. Good photos of the crown molding, good photo showing the transition from one room to the next, confirming where that flooring stops. Picture here to the left shows the cabinet and the edge of the countertop. Picture to the right here. This may be stuff that you know yourself as you're inspecting a claim that you're going to write, but this is the information the desk adjuster needs to see. Here on the right, you see a good example of an origin of loss photo. You see the busted pipe. That should be standard anyways on any kind of claim you do. Got a good example of a close-up of drywall texture. So that gives you a good handle on the kind of detail they're looking for on these specific type items, especially on the interior. This goes into a bit more detail of what we've already discussed as far as what's needed in the interior. Appears everything here is already discussed. So if you have any questions, you've got this reference going forward. As discussed before, as far as the fee schedule, flat rate of $120, that is your deductions from that would be the $5 E&O fee applied if you are enrolled in a Worley-based E&O insurance plan, and the standard 10% deduction in holdback. And that's pretty much it, Corbin. As I mentioned before, the key is, contact immediately. You've already attempted your first contact attempt, so make sure you mark it contacted if you haven't already. Follow up with again today. We really want you completing all of this while you're on site, okay? But at the very least, sometimes there are connectivity issues with the scope form, so you can do that when you get back to your office or if you get to an area of better connection. If you can't use your scope form, chances are you're not going to be able to connect it exactly either. But at the very least, it needs to be same day. So the goal is to happen on site, but if you can make that happen same day, then you're still satisfying our requirements. If there's a reason for delay, just like any other claim, make sure you're putting a no exact analysis letting us know. Okay. Do you have any questions for me at this point, Corbin? Excellent. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you taking the claim, and looking forward to sending more your way here soon. Thank you. Have a good day.